practice line. So we will first start from the login page. We are the group 59, and these are our team members. And let's go to our analysis page. As the COVID-19 pandemic these days, coronavirus has fueled racism against Chinese. Therefore, our topic for the Twitter analysis is mainly focused on the Chinese-related topic, and we want to test the overall attitude toward China in Australia using the Twitter data. We also combine some data we collected from the Orange to perform an overall analysis. This page will show some basic information in each state. As you can see on the top of the page, users can select the state they are interested about. And the following information will then change according to the state. There's also an overall analysis page and an instance information page, which I will further discuss later. So let's first look at this page. On this page, we have about 6 parts. And we first go to the left part, which is the pie charts. These are the data generated from the Orange. The first one is the political party voting distribution, which is the statistic for Australia election voting statistic by party. For example, we now look at the data for Victoria. We can see that around 46% people support National Coalition in Victoria. The rest, which is 53%, support Labour Party. And the pie chart below is the education distribution for Victoria. Also, let's look at the pie chart data here. So around 53% of people have no qualification, and around 26% people have lower than bachelor qualification, and the rest, which is about 18%, has above bachelor degree. Now let's move to the map in the center now. This map will show the Chinese population for each state. So we can interact with the map and to get specific information for the state. For example, let's look at the Northern Territory. The Chinese population there is around 0.47. While let's look at the New South Wales, they have the most Chinese population, which is around 3.1%. So people can interact with the map to get specific data for each state. And now we move to the right part. These are the data we collected from the Twitter, and we perform a sentiment analysis. Here we introduce the overall emotion analysis for particular state. For example, for Victoria, we can see that the overall positive tweets is about 33%, while the negative tweets is about 26%. We also summarize the China-related emotion analysis tweets for Victoria. So now we can have a look. Only about 40% tweets have a positive attitude toward China, while the rest, which is 60%, have a negative attitude. Therefore, for further really specific information, we also retrieve most recent 5 tweets, which have positive emotion, negative emotion, and positive emotion toward China, and negative emotion text toward China, so that our user can have a look, and then they can know some specific tweets to have a very directive view. And now we go back to on the top, and now we can have a look at the overall analysis. So for the overall analysis, we got a summarized graph which can help you to have a more direct view on how those information affect the attitude of China related tweets. Here we can first look at this graph. We can see that the red one is a proportion of people who have higher education background, and the blue bar here is the Liberal National Coalition supporting people proportion. The blue line here is the overall positive tweet proportion, while the orange line here is the positive tweet about China proportion. So when we look at the graph, we can see that the state with higher education background, which is, I think it's the Victoria state, they have a really high overall positive emotion tweets. And we can also see that the line has a linear relation with the education background. However, when we look at the positive tree about China proportion for Victoria, we can see that it's not the highest one, while the Tasmania have the highest one. And we also realize that also the overall positive tweet is really high. However, the China related positive tree is quite low compared to the overall. So now we can go back, and if the user want to have a overall information about the instance for our cloud system, they can go to the instance info. Here we conclude some data for our instance because we have 4 instances. So these are the information for our instance. And some information here is CPU usage, number of CPU, memory usage, and disk usage. As you can see, the information will update every 10 seconds so that the user will have a real-time analysis on this information. Therefore, these are all of for our web page, and thank you so much for listening.